I think it's very natural for salespeople, marketers, business leaders to want to jump straight to the solution when sometimes what your client actually wants, at least at the start of the conversation, is silence and support.
Welcome to Connect to Market. I'm Casey Cheshire. Join us as we learn from marketing leaders who are driving founder-led growth. We're sponsored by Ringmaster, building B2B podcasts and communities to reconnect you with your audience. Let's do this. Okay, we hit the button. The train has left the station. I'm excited to get started. I can't wait to introduce my guest today. He's an absolute badass, and he is a community whisperer. But who is he? He's a marketing leader, a sales leader, a thought leader. But really, all these experiences brought him to where he's at, where he is a community connector. He is someone creating and building and growing communities, and I can't wait to learn from him. It's such a pivotal part of Connect to Market. He is also a 3-time championship winning coach for rugby. So we're about to throw down today. Community engagement manager at Rewst, George Smith. Welcome to the show, sir.
Hi, Casey. That's quite the intro. Thanks so much for having me on.
Well, man, I don't even know how we got you convinced to come on here, but now that we got you, I'm excited. I want to learn from you. So in order to ask you this first question, I need to do something, and that requires me putting on this giant blue foam finger to ask you this question. George, what is the number one thing that marketers need to do in order to connect to the market?
The number one thing marketers need to do to better connect to the market is the better AI gets, the more human you need to become.
I feel like that needs a mic drop. The better it gets at being AI, the better AI is AI, the more we need to double down on the human. That sounds right. That feels right. What does it mean to be more human?
I think as AI is getting better and better, we need to become better at listening. And that matters. You know, even me saying that may raise a few eyebrows. We're beginning to see it's getting easier for us to tell what's AI generated, AI washed, AI manufactured, specifically from a marketing and communications point of view. In fact, whenever I'm just doing my own personal research, I'm looking for the spelling mistakes. I'm looking for the cuss words. I'm looking for things that are, a little bit more human, and that helps me understand and validate that it's a person at the other end of that telephone, of that email, of that communication channel. I think really what it comes down to, Casey, is listening, is making your customers, your community, your partners feel heard and feel like you care and aren't just spamming them with whatever templates your agentic AI has created based on prompts.
Yeah, it sends a message, right? When you have AI take over for you and send these things, it feels so much more impersonal and unconnected, disconnected. Tell me what kind of things you were looking for. I mean, there's that classic M dash, right? That, and there's some people who go, well, I like the M dash and I always wrote with it. Well, you probably shouldn't use it anymore.
I know. I know a lot of professional copywriters that loved using it as a powerful grammatical tool, and now they feel like it's being completely tarnished. And I want to clarify, like, I don't think there's anything wrong with AI. It's incredibly powerful. We're all using it. If you're not, you really should be. It's a great way to rapidly expedite a lot of the manual drudgery that we've done day to day. I think it's just a good opportunity to say, well, with all the time that I'm saving, what can I put that back into? What can I focus on? And for me, it's focusing back on the human connection. So things like picking up the phone, not because there's a ticket that needs resolved, not because someone's renewal is coming up, not because something bad is happening, just to actually reach out and kind of water that relationship.
Taking that time that you saved and reapplying that. I feel like there's a recent post I saw that talked about, I don't know anyone who's using AI that's working less. So I feel like we're filling the void. Maybe we did get something done quicker, but we're filling that void. And it doesn't sound like we're doing what you're describing. I don't think we're filling it with more connection time.
No, and I think it's very, very noisy out there now, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think a year ago, or even a couple of years ago, even if we look at images, for example, and seeing some of the cool things you could generate graphically with AI, it was pretty fun, it was whimsical, it was cool. Some people doubled down and went pretty cool on it. But not if you're scrolling on LinkedIn or Facebook or even online and you can see something that has very clearly been whipped up by AI. Does it still attract your attention? Does it still benefit that company? Is it amplifying them, or is your first thought, yeah, that's a bit of AI slop that's been generated that someone spent 10 minutes on, so is it having the same impact that you want? I think it comes back to that quality over quantity sometimes. And as humans, whenever we think about quality in the business relationships that we have, it often comes down to the human, right? Where it is, particularly in our industry, with managed service providers within IT,
Yeah.
a lot of people don't leave MSPs because something terrible happens. Because whenever breaches happen or mistakes are made, it's human nature. Particularly when it comes to security, Casey, often it's the clients, humans, that are making mistakes. The reason why people leave is because they don't feel valued. They don't feel like they're getting the service. And more importantly, the reason that they stay, that they renew, that they don't nickel and dime or search for a bargain basement deal is because they feel that human connection. Those are the stories that are the cornerstone of your business. Those are the stories that become your testimonials, and those are the clients that start becoming your referral partners as well.
By giving that gift of time and attention, and I mean, talk to me about listening. How do you do that the right way? I mean, people, I think we give it surface level attention. It sounds directionally correct. I should listen more. What does that mean?
Well, if you're in a relationship, you'll know from various books, you have to make eye contact, you have to nod, you have to do all the active listening for all the husbands and wives out there. You can read tons of content on that. But I think when we put the business lens over it, it's seeking to understand the problem that your client is having before you just want to jump into your pitch or how you can solve it. I think it's very natural for salespeople, marketers, business leaders to want to jump straight to the solution when sometimes what your client actually wants, at least at the start of the conversation, is silence and support.
Silence and support. On the silent side, we're just letting them speak, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's not jumping in with like, hey, you've told me this thing. Yep. Let me tell you a story about another person. Like just listen, just let them speak. And again, through the lens of IT, that's going to be a critical skill because non-technical customers, your customers, they're paying you to be the IT expert, are going to come with an idea in their head that they've seen on social media, heard about in the news, talked about in their book club, and they're going to say, I need this thing. And you may hear those words, I need AI as a service, for example. And you might go, well, what does that really mean? And you're a plumber. I don't know why you need AI as a service. So but just by being silent and listening, hear their problem, and then translate it into terms they understand,
Yeah.
right? Don't talk down to them. Don't come across as condescending. You're the technical expert. Don't drown them in technical details. Just seek to understand what their issue is and then kind of call it back to them. So then you can present your solution and your value in a way that makes sense to them. I have a quick little story, Casey. I've been
Yeah, please.
part of a few significant business proposal pitches, RFP processes in the public sector, a lot of steps, a lot of presentations. And in a previous job, we were in the final round of one of the biggest RFP contracts we had went for. The judging panel asked a very direct question. My boss at the time, one of the most technical people and smartest people I've ever worked with, went into a very detailed technical answer for 3 or 4 minutes speaking. And at the end, there was this really long pause. None of the five judges said anything until The chair took a breath and just said, I have no idea. I don't understand anything of what you just said. And it was that point where, sometimes you have those moments as a human where you're like, do I do something here? Do I say something? Do I stay quiet? And you're not quite sure. I chose to say something as the junior staff member and jumped in and said, what we meant to say was we will deliver this project on time within this timeline. We will do it within the budget that we've allocated to this project. Here are some of the key risk factors that we see and how we're going to mitigate against those. You already know we have the technical capabilities. Here's our customer human commitment to you and why you should work. Boom, you got the job. Contract's yours.
Whoa, that saved it?
Yeah, it did. It did because they already knew we had the technical capability. But I think what we needed to do a better job of was saying, this is going to be a year-long project and you're going to be working with us. Are we people that you can work with at the human level?
Yeah. Yeah. And you just kept it real with them.
Yeah, they were a public sector healthcare board. They weren't aware of the difference between a website and an intranet or what we were talking about whenever we were looking at admin permissions. It's not their job to know any of that. And it's not our job to try and teach them in a 20-minute sales pitch. It's our job to convey the fact that we're the experts. We'll help them. We'll give that white glove service. We've done it before. We'll do it for them. We'll not make them feel stupid, but we'll empower them, educate them, and equip them with what they need to move forward in this digital era that we're all rapidly rolling into, whether you want to or not.
What are the best opportunities to listen?
I think, like I said, one thing I would do, super easy, just pick up that phone once a week.
Yeah.
Whether you've got an old school Rolodex or look up someone random in your CRM, start practicing good habits of taking notes. And again, this is where you can use AI to your benefit. Have those note takers on your call. Ask it to listen out for specific human bits of information, not what the KPIs of a project are or what people's grievances are. Those are important, but keep those in a separate list. When was someone's birthday? Is this person's kid going to college next summer? Are they preparing to celebrate their 20th year in business? These are the things that whenever you just pick up the phone, again, not because there's any sinister or not sinister, but subtle business reason, it's just to call up and say, hey, Casey, heard you were on a cruise. I know you had your cruise a couple of weeks ago. How did that go, man?
Yeah.
Was it good? Right? 5-10 minutes. Yeah, that's awesome. Love that you had a great time and you're feeling refreshed. Glad you made it back safe. That's all it was. Just wanted to give you a quick call, check in, and see how things are going. Is there anything else we can do for you, or anything you need from me and my team right now? I know Jeanette is handling this, and Sam's working with these guys, but otherwise we're good. Cool, great. Well, you know where to find me if you need me. That 5 minutes will do more for your business and your business relations than having a 6-sequence marketing email campaign with associated graphics that are high definition generated by AI going all over social media, and a press release or a fancy video on TikTok. Start allocating your saved time with AI and automation back to human connection.
How does that tie into community? Because you're wrangling community at Rewst. You've been doing community a lot. How do you incorporate listening? How do you incorporate connection into community?
I'm blessed in our sector in the channel with MSPs. There's a lot of industry events, and I think it's one of the few sectors I've been part of that's truly different when it comes to how people work and interact with each other. Everyone is extremely friendly and helpful. There was a significant breach with a large vendor a few years ago, and instead of people pointing fingers and getting angry, that did come. But the first response was, how can I help? How can I help anyone else who's been impacted by this? And I think that's the power of community is people just want to help each other. People want to feel like they're part of something. And I think it's a really cool ecosystem to look at in this digital world where we're not in offices anymore, we're speaking to people on screens, but human beings are social creatures, right? Um, that's why most guests on the TV show Alone quit, because they get lonely, right? Uh, so having that human connection, whether you can do it through online forums, picking up the phone, getting together at industry events, or even just organizing small get-togethers in your local city, or saying, "Hey, I'm going to be at this place. Do you want to meet for coffee or lunch?" I think goes a long way. Just setting up somewhere where you can listen and you can learn more and actually slow down a little bit.
Yeah, something about the pace, right? Like as you slow down, there's more opportunities for listening. There's more or observing or anything. Um, Sometimes that hurried pace, you miss everything. You skip everything.
Yeah. And we've all, if you think about it, whenever you have conversations with someone who talks a little bit slower, takes their time, you ask them a question, there's a pause, you can see them thinking about it. That does something in your brain as well, where you're like, we're engaged in a meaningful conversation. This person is listening. They're being thoughtful about their response and what I'm saying, compared to someone speaking a million miles an hour like this. Hey, like always kind of on to the next thing. It feels rushed, can feel dismissive. We've all been on meetings, right? Where it's like,
Mhm.
I have a hard out at 1/2 past. I got to go. What are we getting through today? Okay, that sounds good. Are we going to do this? Right? Like that sense of, people will say it's urgency, but not everything can be, urgent and
Right.
important all the time, or else nothing really matters, right? So being able to slow down and um, give your full attention to someone, and focus on the things that make it more human, I think will be the the main thing that help people in the future. To kind of come back to your question, in case like about community,
Yeah.
AI automation is going to sort of flatten the competitive landscape for everyone, right? So as a business, as a leader, what do you do when everyone has the same access to the same tools that can generate the same things at speed, at scale? What's your point of difference? And I think that's the big thing. It's going to come back to, who are you as a person, and how have you developed that humanistic, that human centric relationship with your clients?
What's the moat for community that makes it so hard to you can't really duplicate it on the AI slop side?
I think you have to be genuine in what you're doing. Um, a lot of people fail with community attempts because they just see it as a way to harvest additional value, monetary value, marketing value from their customers. And I think fundamentally that's the wrong approach to
Mm,
have. Community is a connective tissue across your business that certainly allows you to pull advocacy from, but it also allows you to better equip your customer service facing teams with information around what's working well, what's not. You can be a bit of an ombudsman, because people know, if I pick up the phone to Chad, he's the sales guy, things are going to be transactional. He's only going to listen to me or give me time if there's money on the table.
yeah.
I pick up the phone to Carly, her job is to smile and say, yes, you're right, and everything's good. Like, who's the real person that can maybe, give me the lay of the land, and not only just layman's terms, but also in reality.
Hmm.
Hey, Casey, I understand where you're coming from, but listen, we both know part of the challenge here is you're not doing this thing, and you need to do this thing first. Once you've done that, I think you'll see a change in your business, and then we can help you better. But until you go, if you're going to keep pointing fingers at us or other people or your business partner, you're probably going to see the same results. So it's bringing that human connection back, and just trying to be a genuine people person,
Yeah.
that wants to see success, um, and the best for your partners without needing or wanting something in return.
Hey, marketing leaders, it's Amanda here from Ringmaster B2B Podcasting. In today's market, B2B buying is built on one thing: trust. And there's no better way to build that trust than through a podcast that builds connection. At Ringmaster, we help you launch and grow shows that will amplify your brand and can help drive real demand. The best part? We handle all the heavy lifting so you can focus on the big picture. So if you've been thinking about starting a podcast for your brand or taking your existing one to the next level, visit ringmaster.com to chat and book a call.
Yeah, I love that you shot down the word harvesting. It's not the it's not the key word to use here. It's indicating the wrong direction. What kind of things glue a community together? Is it what platform you're on? Are you doing monthly meetings? Like, what is the thing that makes it a community and not just a list of people?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it depends on the nature of the personas, the people that are in the community. At Rewst, we're very fortunate because we're in the automation space and have a platform that is allowing IT service providers to build out complex automations, but in a very elegant and streamlined way. We naturally attract a lot of technical people who like to tinker, who like to build. And because it's kind of this dream machine, almost digital Lego software for MSPs, there's limitless options. So we have a thriving Discord community
Okay.
where there's a number of different forums and channels where people can come and say, I'm looking to try and stitch X and Y together. I wonder if anybody has done this before. Oh, here's a channel on X. Here's a channel on Y. I can search historical content just to see if other people have tried doing this. Oh, someone has. I can see what they wrote about in 2023. Is that still applicable? I can now direct message that person because we're all in this digital community. I can reach out to Rewst. So it's kind of this online forum. A lot of people hear Discord and think, oh, my son plays Fortnite. Why would I want to go on a video gaming app? And for us, Discord's so much more than that. It's a centralized communication hub that allows you to connect with people with similar interests and converse in real time.
Yeah.
It's not as formal as submitting a ticket or speaking to a chatbot on a website. It's real humans in there conversing. And it also makes things a little bit more fun with emojis, memes, GIF, that kind of thing. That certainly folks in our space appreciate. For other communities, it just depends what you're into. You might need to be in person on a regular basis. You might need to be doing the activity that is based around, whether it's recreational or sport. Or business. But I think you need to first focus on what is connecting everyone and build on top of that.
Do you all have meetups or anything like that too?
Yeah, we have. So, I mean, at Rewst, we actually have our Flow conference coming up. So we have our event in Nashville at the end of June 22nd and 25th. It is the place in the channel where MSPs are coming to learn about automation and AI. Unlike a lot of other shows in the space that can be fairly vendor heavy, or it's like, buy this thing where it will solve your business. Over 65% of the speakers at Flow are MSPs. It is other IT leaders coming together to say, hey, I took my business from here to there in a positive direction using automation and AI. Here's how I did it. Here's the operational playbook. Here's the digital strategy that I implemented.
Mm-hmm.
Or it's technical builders saying, hey, I built these things that helped with this. Here's how they work. Or it's actual instructors saying, in this session, bring your laptop, open it up. Today, we are going to learn how to make this sub workflow or this specific AI prompt sheet that will enable you to do A, B, C, consistently, repeatably, and it's something you'll use for the next 6 months to help scale different aspects of your business. So it's truly thought leadership, it's truly educational. But the thing I see about it, Casey, is it's all these guys getting together with a Corona in the evenings and just nerding out over technology and automation and exchanging ideas and coming back to the community. It would be reasonable to think, well, are people not competitive with each other, wanting to hide their trade secrets. That's a natural thought, but the truth is that's not the case at all. People, a rising tide floats all boats, and everyone's just excited to be helping one another and sharing information.
Man, that's so good. That's so good. What would you say is your, number one thing you should do in a community, and number one thing you shouldn't do in a community, just to ensure that it grows? Because I know there's a million things that.
Number one thing you shouldn't do is try to monetize it ever. The minute you try to monetize it, or like I say, start harvesting it for more sort of corporate focused metrics, it'll disintegrate.
Okay.
People will just leave. People will automatically go to the place, to the community, to the thing where they feel welcome, they feel seen, they feel heard, and they get an intrinsic value. That could be enjoyment, that could be knowledge, that could be a sense of belonging. It could be all of those things. And so the minute you try to start squeezing more corporate focused KPIs out of it, people get a sense for that and they leave. So in order to keep growing, you need to continue to develop a space where you're ticking all those boxes. You're making people feel included. You're making people feel heard, seen, give them a place where they feel belonging. And I think a lot of that just comes down to two sayings that we have in our family, which is just do it. I know Nike kind of trademarked that one, but just do it and be nice. And if you can keep those two simple things top of mind, it'll actually solve a lot of your problems. Like, just be nice. Be nice where you can be. And if you have an idea, if you want to help, if there's a question you want to ask, just do it.
Man, that's brilliant. Where do you like to learn from? Where do you get your inputs from? Are you reading books these days, pods, audiobooks? Where do you like to?
Yeah, I go back and forth between a lot of things, Casey. I think right now I do. I'm reading some books. I was doing podcasts for a bit, but now I'm back into the reading. I'm also, I think the number one thing for me though, again, being that people person, there's nothing more I love than getting some quality one-on-one time with a particular person. Maybe they're a business owner, maybe they're someone who spoke at an event, and just picking their brain about a couple of things, like actually having a conversation with someone and kind of hearing their story and being able to ask specific questions. How did you do this? Where did you start? You talked about this challenge and how you overcame it. What else can you share about that? Or even other things like, hey, you're a super smart person. What's a book you'd recommend?
Yeah. Do you have one?
I've got lots of books. I think one of the best business books I've read, Never Split the Difference. And if you've heard of that one, I love it. It's by Christopher Voss, ex-FBI negotiator. So this is a guy who really understands conversations and negotiation. And what he does is he takes a lot of his incredibly compelling and exhilarating stories of like hostage situations in the Philippines or people robbing a bank, and uses those stories to apply business principles when it comes to negotiating. Small favorite example is around don't split the difference, don't compromise. If my wife and I are going out and I want to wear my black shoes and she wants me to wear my brown shoes, a compromise would be I wear one black shoe and one brown shoe. Neither of us are happy and I look stupid. So sometimes, even though people say you should compromise, there's an example of why compromise actually doesn't work and neither people end up happy. So that's a great book I'd recommend reading. Not as dry as maybe some other business books that can feel a bit lectury. There's a lot of fun stories in there that he pulls back into meaningful takeaways.
That's great. That's great. Well, man, my next question for you is really like, who are you? Who are you? How do you know all these things? Can you take me back in time to like little you days? Did you know you're going to be running communities, running camps, all these things you've done in your career, sales, marketing?
No, I don't think I never Yeah, no, it's never. Whenever I was a kid, if someone said, "Hey, what do you want to be when you grow up?" I'd be like, "Oh, a community manager." I don't, I think
Right?
you're just like an astronaut, a firefighter. I never really knew, to be honest with you. I always just enjoyed hanging out with people. I enjoyed making people laugh, a little bit of a class clown. Certainly in elementary school. Um, but I've always I've always enjoyed chatting and kind of selling and marketing to people in a very broad way.
Mm.
My brother and I grew up next to a golf course, and literally across the street from us in Ireland was a big hedge thicket, and we would crawl through there on weekends and steal all the golf balls that had gone into the rough, or even sometimes like just kind of off the fairway, right?
Yeah.
Um, and then we would come out of the thicket and we would sit on the brick wall of our house with a little kitchen bowl, fruit bowl that my mum hated that we were putting golf balls in her nice fruit bowl, and we would sell them back to people for 25p. And it was funny because obviously at the time we didn't really understand this, but golfers, it's more of an expensive sport, and the guys going back and forth to the golf club knew that we were the two kids stealing these golf balls. But I think we did like, it was 25p for one, or you could get five for a pound. So there was a deal there. And I think a lot of them, probably being businessmen themselves, could respect the hustle.
Yeah, respect the hustle, man. Totally.
Yeah, and so that's how we made our candy money, and we would get like, a pound or two, which back in the 90s was a fortune for a kid, and off to the sweetie store we went to get, cola bottles and chocolate.
It's funny that, hey, but you were doing a service too, and it's cheaper than buying them retail. So
Yeah, exactly. Well, some of the guys, I mean, I didn't know anything about even the differences, but some of the guys were pretty happy to be getting, Callaway golf balls for 25p that maybe belonged to someone else. The funniest one, Casey, was when people had like had their own golf balls, with like initials or
oh
things. And like, "That's
no.
my golf ball," and
Yeah.
I'd be like, "Mine now, finders keepers, 25p, and have it
You
back."
can have
So,
it back.
yeah,
Dug that out of the pond.
yeah.
And how do you go from, the hustling for the candy money to where you're at now? Was there like a major change that happened, or we just sort of experimented along the way?
I think I've like just experimented along the way. I think maybe something that I would say, because I don't think it's said enough to younger people, is it's just as important to find out what you don't want to do as much as it is what you do. So
Yeah.
whenever you have the opportunity to do work experience, to get a summer job, to go on co-ops, don't be afraid to dive into something that you think might suck, because at the end of the day, it might. But now hey, that is a job, that is an industry, that is a type of person that I want nothing to do with. You can
Mm-hmm.
tick it off. And it's better to do that in your teens and early 20s than it is to fall into something whenever you desperately need it and get stuck doing it for 10, 20 years. So don't be afraid to try things that you think might suck, because you might validate your own opinion, or you might be surprised. Um, for me, I went to university and I did primary school teaching, and after 2 weeks I quit because I was like, I actually don't want to just be in school my whole life as a student and then a teacher. So I quickly changed to sports science and coaching. Sports science was way harder than I thought it was. It was very scientific, very mathematical, but I loved the coaching part, because that kind of tied in with the teaching aspect that I'd always originally been drawn to. Um, and Casey is, as the son of two librarians, let me tell you, like genetically, sports, I never really had a chance. So, being someone that could be like, yes, here's how you break down a skill, because this is how I would need to learn it. I'm not someone who can just pick up a tennis racket and instantly be good. I'm not someone who can jump onto a soccer pitch and start running around and uh, excelling at those sports. So I enjoyed that. The problem with coaching was there wasn't a lot of money in it. I was good at selling, so I always kind of got drawn into jobs where I could sell something, get
Yeah.
commission, get money. And I've always kind of blagged my way into things, which is a term in the UK. We talk about blagging. It's you would blag your way into a nightclub. It's kind of the gift of the gab, the talking your way into something. So I managed to blag my way into a law firm, having no law degree or experience whatsoever. Helped them in their revenue department, and they wanted me to move to London in England, into the big city, and I did not want to do that. I did not want to go to London and be a suit. So I did the opposite thing and got a backpack and went to Canada. Landed in Canada. They have seasons here. Canadians, rightly so, have the reputation of being lovely, kind, welcoming people. Can confirm. And that was 14 years ago now. So have been here ever since.
Jeez. Well, this is perfect timing for this really kind of a final question that I have for you, which is a bit of a hypothetical question, if you're game for that.
Always.
All right. You see, I may or may not have a time machine over here in New Hampshire. So you make a little road trip, not too far away. We get some beer, get some lobster, and use the time machine. And you go back in time and you get a chance to meet yourself 4 days after getting out of university, right? And 4 days after now you're a coach and bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, away with you. What would you say to that, George?
I would say you got some amazing years ahead of you. Don't be afraid to make big decisions, but also, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Failure is the price of growth, and you're going to do a lot of growing over the next few years. But there's certainly nothing I would change. There's nothing I would say, hey, in 4 years, you're going to meet a guy called Barry. Do not go on that holiday with Barry. Like there's nothing I wouldn't change anything. I think it would just be, life's full of ups and downs and good and bad experiences, and that's part of it. Roll with it, enjoy it.
Yeah, man, that's powerful. Do you think that version of you would listen?
That version of me would probably be like, where's this time machine?
Yeah.
We at that time, being a dirt poor student, be like, where's this time machine? What should I invest in now that's gonna blow up big in the future? There'll probably be still that cheeky side of trying to get something more out of the guy from the future.
Hey, give me a quick stock pick before you go, older me.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Man, well, dude, where should people go if they want to connect with you?
Best place is LinkedIn. And I would search for Rewst, REWST, and look me up there, because if you search George Smith, you might be scrolling a while. But certainly, spend a lot of time on LinkedIn chatting with folks. If you're already in our Rewst community, I'm on Discord. You can hit me up there anytime. But certainly in the digital world, LinkedIn's probably a good first place to come.
Awesome. And we'll link to that right in the show notes so people can just click right on through. Dude, thank you so much for coming on here. I feel like this time, we had our own time warp. Time just like flew by. Super excited to finally have this conversation happen. Talk community, talk about connection, talk about listening, and demonstrate a good practical listening. Podcasts are great for listening. And this has just been great, man. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you, Casey. I appreciate chatting with you. And love the work.
Hell yeah, dude. And for those listening, if you bump into some of your friends that are doing some non-human marketing, send them a link to this and let George set them straight. And with that, dude, thank you again.
Thanks so much again, Casey, for having me. I really appreciate it.
Hell yeah, man. Powerful words. And this has been another crazy cool, very exciting episode of the Connect to Market Pod. We will see you all next time. And that wraps up another episode. Thank you for joining. For show notes and other episodes, visit us at connect2market.com. Connect to Market is sponsored by Ringmaster, creating podcasts and communities that create relationships, generate revenue, and drive growth.